Yo, 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 what's poppin' everyone? How's it going? My name is Kareem, or as I go by on Twitch or Twitter, Lugia VGC, MegaLugia, whatever you want to call me. And today I'm bringing you guys my VGC 2017 team report from San Jose, where I was able to get top 8, as well as going 7-1 in Swiss and being the top seed. So if you guys like the sound of that, feel free to sit back, relax, and enjoy. I think it's going to be pretty cool, put a lot of effort into it. You guys are going to see, obviously, my process, how I build a team, the mons, the spreads, my matchups from San Jose, as well as in-game footage showing how the team's supposed to work and explaining what it is that it does. So if you guys like the sound of that, hope you guys stick around and enjoy. Feel free to leave a like as well if you enjoyed. And without further ado, let's get into it. So to begin, I attended the Hartford Regionals a few weeks ago now, and I saw Brady Smith take his team to second place there. And at the time, I was using a team with 3 of the 6 mons that he had, being Marowak, Tapu and Katana, and I really liked the modes of his team. Trick Room and Tailwind was something I had on my own team with Bravery and Mandibuzz, Bravery and Porygon 2, and I felt like having Trick Room and Tailwind in VGC 17 was kind of hard to pull off, but he made it work really well, so that's what really caught my attention. And I was comfortable really using all the Pokemon on Brady's team except for the Mandibuzz, for which I had like 0 experience with. I felt that a balance of defensive and offensive pressure was my preferred playstyle, especially being able to adapt when one aspect of the team didn't have a good matchup or didn't really work. Anyway, so I started to test out his team, and as I said, I had a total of 0 experience using Mandibuzz, and it definitely showed when I was testing the team. I didn't know when to bring it, I didn't know how to use it, when to use it, and in general it was too passive for me once it did its job, you know? And also having no form of Intimidate was a bit of an issue for me. Even though I know Mandibuzz gets Snarl, it kind of wasn't cutting it. And I realized after a little bit that Mandibuzz was pretty essential to Brady's team because 1, it gave you speed control, and it also allowed you to handle threats to the team like Garchomp, Gengar, opposing Marowaks, Metagross, and I was kind of stuck once I took it off. Especially because Tapu Fini was probably my best answer to Garchomp, but without Tailwind or any speed control, I get outsped and I can easily get worn down and KO'd. So Mandibuzz was great in matchups, but at the time when it wasn't great, I felt like it was dead weight and I wanted it off the board. So as you can see, the rest of the team was working out pretty well, and I felt like if I could somehow add a little bit of speed to the team without changing its core concept, I'd be good. And I tried swapping out Mandibuzz for Porygon Z, for Salamence, for Braviary again, and Garchomp itself, but none of them really worked out the way I wanted it to. But just after a few more test matches, I ended up deciding on the final team member of the team, and it worked out pretty well. So kicking it off with the first member of the team, we got my boy Persian. It's crazy how its Cantonian form or Kanto form was complete ass, and now its Alola form is pretty underrated in my opinion. But anyway, Persian was the missing link I needed to get the team playing the way I wanted to. It was unable to replicate Mandibuzz's role perfectly, but what it did do, I think it did better. I mentioned not having any form of Intimidate on the team. Persian was able to give me Pseudo Intimidate and Snarl in one move. You all know what it is, Parting Shot. It allowed for great board positioning, calling for your opponent to switch out and then giving you the advantage whilst both their offenses are hindered was pretty great. And although you're not able to match Mandibuzz's Tailwind, Fake Out and Quash gave me pretty good methods of speed control that were pretty invaluable in my matchups. Feint is an option over Quash, but if you aren't able to get the read right, I feel like you're set back in the matchup, so Quash was a lot more consistent for me. Quash was extremely clutch in many of my matches at San Jose. Now, where Persian may not be able to hit something very hard, allowing my Snorlax, for example, spoiler, which was on the team, to outspeed and KO a Garchomp drastically changes the match. And at being 115 base speed, Persian outspeeds a majority of the format, with some of its enemies being, Tapu Koko and Whimsicott. Now on the issue of Whimsicott, Persian is a dark type, so you're immune to the Prankster type moves, which could really give my team trouble since it was pretty slow. And as for Tapu Koko, that's where the spread of Persian comes into play. Being able to survive a Life Orb Dazzling Gleam is crucial, regaining your health with the Mago Berry, and then being able to maneuver from there with a Foul Play if it's low, or a Parting Shot to get something else in. Now Foul Play is obviously there to answer physical threats like Garchomp, Arcanine, Marowak, Metagross, and Katana. So as you can see, these are some of the damage calcs on the screen. Like I mentioned, being able to live a Dazzling Leaf from Coco, a Moonblast from Finny if it's not too offensive, as well as Earthquake being a 3-8 KO from Garchomp, and you living an Adamant Tech Rage. So it's pretty important, and you do pick up a bunch of 2-8 KOs on crucial mons like Garchomp, Katana, Marowak, Metagross, sometimes even Okang Metagross, but they're pretty bulky nowadays. But that's Persian, very good member of the team. And let's move on to the next one. Coming up next on the team, we have Alola Marowak. Alola Marowak, again, is one of the pivotal members of the team. Marowak is very, very important to the team. I can't stress that enough, and it seems to be one of the most divisive Pokemon in the format. Some hate it, some love it. Now, it fills a very specific role, being able to counter some of the biggest threats in the format that I consider, like Katana, Pheromosa, Ninetales, Tapu Bulu, Celesteela, Buzzwole, and of course, it's here for Tapu Koko, which gives great synergy with Persian plus Quash. Now, Marowak made a late resurgence back into the meta, and I think for good reason. I primarily needed it for Lightning Rod, but by training it to be much bulkier, it was able to check Tapu Lele, Sun teams, as well as bulky Nihilego. Opponents were pretty surprised when my Marowak lived Earthquakes and hits that it really shouldn't. 36 attack investment was all it really needed to OHKO Pokemon like Celesteela, which was mainly the threat I needed it for. Now the speed benchmark versus opposing Marowaks was always kind of the tricky part, having to scout it out or basing it off the composition of their team, as they could be much slower than me, or they could be the Paul Ruiz set, which was I think 116 EV, so a lot faster than me. Now the final part came down to the move choice, which I have to give the man Alex Ogloza credit for. For the longest time I had sworn by Perish Song being the best last move, but originally when I had that, I had Porygon 2 on the team, plus Snorlax, so it was a lot easier to stall out an endgame. But now in testing, the games where I used Perish Song, I just could have won if I attacked. So Ogloza suggested Boomerang. Now that was a move that I was like, nah dude, that's pretty bad, it's gonna miss. I just hit stuff with Shadow Bone anyway, but it kind of worked out because it was a move that was seen early meta and then since died off. There was good reason for that, but in my case, it helped with a lot of certain matchups, even in San Jose, which really gave me the win. For example, in Swiss, I faced a Focus-Sash Gengar and a Focus-Sash Nihilego, as well as Sturdy Magnezone. If I wasn't able to get those 2 Boomerangs off, I might have lost the game, so really clutch there on Ogloza's part. And also deals a lot more damage to Arcanine, which could give me some trouble with Intimidate and stuff, so it was nice to have. And here you can see some of the damage calcs I was talking about. An Adamant Garchomp's Earthquake doesn't OHKO you, it does 2 KO you. You can live a Specs Muddy Water from Feeny. Well, you have a 6% chance to get OHKO'd, but they usually don't run max special attack and modest. Now for a timid special attack Life Orb Tapu Lele in Psychic Terrain, Psychic has a 6.3 chance to OHKO you. Now you see there, I was 148 SPDEF. I changed that the moment before San Jose. If you were 156, you're guaranteed to live. But I just wanted 8 more speed, 8 more EVs and speed to just somehow guarantee if other Marowaks are running 76 like I used to. But that's just a preference you can change. Pelipper Brine from max HP in the rain, you don't even die. Tapu Koko Dazzling Gleam is like a 6-hit KO. If Nihilego is not holding a Life Orb, you do live the Power Gem. Torkoal is a 3-8 KO, and you can live a timid Shattered Psyche from Lele outside of terrain. So again, like I said, training it to be bulky, in my opinion, made Marowak a lot better. Especially when you look at the offensive damage calc, you still can OHKO Celesteela, you still OHKO Tapu Lele, Flare Blitz is a 2-hit KO on Muck, and Boomerang is a 2-hit KO on Torkoal. So that's Marowak, very cool mon, and I'm definitely glad it put in work for my team. And now coming in with the second Ghost member of the team, we have Mimikyu holding the Ghost TMZ. So this is where the team starts coming together. Mimikyu has been one of the strangest Pokemon I've ever used. Early format, I used a very bulky set with Mental Herb when the Drift Lele core was popular, but after Wolfie innovated the special Ghost Team set, I knew it was what I needed. I still find it crazy that we're using a mon with, 50 base special attack as a special attacker. It's insane, but again, shout out to Wolfie for that. So adding Redirection with Z Destiny Bond was great to guarantee Trick Room to support the next member of my team, which I already mentioned, Snorlax, as well as Marowak. If they attack you, they die. If they don't, you get a Trick Room. Also being guaranteed faster than Tapu Lele and Smeargle meant I could knock out the Lele, or I could taunt the Smeargle, basically shutting it down. Now taunt is also great for beating gimmicks as well as teams like Eevee, because they can't really handle you if you read Mimikyu, Snorlax, Taunt, and Belly Drum. Now being modest does offer more damage, but the speed is pretty crucial as I mentioned. Mimikyu won't be too useful in Trick Room anyway, so the inclusion of Persian also meant for some good strategies such as Fake Out plus Trick Room, Quash plus Trick Room, or Parting Shot plus Trick Room to guarantee live a hit. Also at this time in the meta, some mons weren't even running max speed, like Garchomp was adamant, so sometimes you could outspeed them and get the Destiny Bond off to take them out with you. Now usually you want something to kill Mimikyu, like Celesteela for example, so you Destiny Bond and you take them down with you. There is no better feeling than going for Z Destiny Bond, as Celesteela goes for Heavy Slam and it dies and you just get guaranteed setup with your Snorlax. Great team. Now Mimikyu usually has one job, get up Trick Room and take something down with it. Now on the other hand, versus Eevee teams, taunting turn 1 also means you can snowball and pretty much win the matchup from there. I never would have thought that special Mimikyu would become a thing, but man, it just does its job so well. Here are some damage calcs that I was talking about. These are just going to be offensive because defensive, you're not really meant to take hits. Now with your Never-Ending Nightmare versus the Lele, you do have a 62% chance to OHKO, guaranteed to a KO on Torkoal. You OHKO Katana, you have a good chance to OHKO Metagross, and it is a OHKO versus the max HP 68 Spadef Marowak as well. Alright, so now we're going to be talking about the Pokemon on the team. I have never loved the Pokemon as much as Snorlax until now. It can single-handedly just win games on its own and run through your opponent when it's set up. The team was made to basically guarantee that Snorlax can have an easy of a win as possible. The 50% berries that this generation gave us put Snorlax on a whole new level. Regaining all your health back and being at +6 attack, kinda GG, well played, man. So far Mimikyu allows for setup with the Z Destiny Bond that I was talking about, and Snorlax can set up a Belly Drum, followed by a Protect, and then a subsequent Trick Room. Although Snorlax is walled by ghost types, you can technically stall them out, especially in the case of Marowak, if it just kills itself with the Flare Blitz recoil. I definitely think that you want Protect on my Snorlax set instead of High Horsepower, because yes, you'd be able to hit mons like Gengar and Marowak, but the point is you're setting this up turn 1 with a Mimikyu, and once they see you at +6, they're going to try to take out the Snorlax, so you can set up a Protect and then go for Trick Room. However, without Mimikyu, Snorlax is also supported with Persian, since if you do get Snorlax set up to +6, Persian outspeeds almost everything and just quashes, so Lax can still move first. For examples, there were a few matches where I couldn't get up Trick Room and Muck was threatening my team, so I quashed Muck and then I Belly Drum with Snorlax so they can't knock off your berry, and then you just proceed to quash and OHKO them from there. Likewise, Persian does not appreciate Tapu Koko, which you have Marowak for as well, so the synergy is pretty good. Especially in the end game when you're at +6 with your Snorlax facing a Celesteela, which actually happened to me in Swiss. Mimikyu can taunt the Celesteela because you don't care if Mimikyu goes down, you just want to ensure that Celesteela can't Leech Seed you, and that means with your +6 Return of Frustration is a 2-hit KO on Celesteela even after the leftovers. Now the spread was something I debated on for a while, as I was initially brave to do more damage without setting up Belly Drum because it wasn't always guaranteed, but before San Jose I found that I was dying a few times too many to things I really shouldn't, so I went relaxed and it ensured so many more damage rolls. It was ridiculous. For example, living versus a Supersonic Sky Strike plus Heavy Slam from a Stalamence and a Celesteela in Swiss. Now I added 36 attack. It was meant to try and guarantee the OHKOs on bulky Buzzwoles when I'm at +6. You still don't OHKO a Porygon too, but I mean it's not that much of a threat. And you do have a very good chance of living a Foul Play at +6 as well from Mandibuzz and a Persian. I love Snorlax, man. It's easily the MVP of the team. It just plows through opponents as soon as its checks are gone, man. Like, I could go on forever about why it's so good, but let me just stop. I'll give you guys some damage calcs right here. You do live a guaranteed Shattered Psyche from Lele in terrain if it's modest as well. Tapu Koko's Thunderbolt Timid with a Life Orb is a 1% chance to 2-hit KO you. Adamant Garchomp's Earthquake's a 4-hit KO. Muck's Gunk Shot is a 3-hit KO. You do live a superpower from a 200 plus Adamant attack Buzzle, which they're not usually anyway. You live close combat from Hariyama if they're not Guts, and Hydro Vortex doesn't OHKO you either. And some of the offensive calcs that I was talking about, when you're not set up, you still do get a 2-hit KO on Tapu Koko as well as Tapu Lele, and there you see at +6 you OHKO Buzzwole. You have a very good chance to OHKO a Lax running the same set as you, and a 2-hit KO versus Celesteela, like I mentioned, especially if they don't get the Leech Seed off. So that's pretty much my boy Snorlax. Let's move on to the final 2 members of the team. Alright, so this is where the team kind of changes from Brady's team. Now it is the same mon as you see Tapu Fini, but I'm holding the Choice Scarf. So now that you've seen the slow mode of the team, I talked about I like having more than one mode of the team, as well as ensuring Snorlax to have as many winning ways as possible. So although Persian is fast, it can't OHKO or handle everything on its own, you know. So I needed a Tapu in my team as well for terrain control, and Tapu Fini just worked. So I tested Calm Mind, I tested Specs Fini, but since it was based on Brady Smith's team, like I mentioned, without Mandibuzz, I found myself losing to Garchomp just all the time, as well as Nihilego, because you can't outspeed them. So Tapu Fini could handle all the threats that I was weak to, but it just needed to outspeed them. So logical answer, add a Scarf. Scarf Fini had success with Yuri, so I tested it and it was just pretty amazing. The set is pretty standard, max speed Modest to outspeed non-speed Nature Pheromosa as well as Koko, and Pokemon trying to outspeed Koko by 1 as well. Having Ice Beam was there to ensure an OHKO on bulky Garchomp since Moonblast isn't always a guarantee. And I chose Muddy Water over Scald or Hydro Pump because accuracy drops and spread damage are clutch. Yes, it doesn't do as much damage, but you never know when you need spread damage as well as getting accuracy drops on your opponent. And of course, you see Soak, so if you don't understand what Soak means, Soak turns the opponent Pokemon into a water type, and since Tapu Fini is Scarf, it usually gets that off before everything, and then you probably figure out what the next member of my team is, but we'll save that for after the damage calc. So as you can see, Ice Beam is a OHKO on Garchomp, Moonblast does a 2-hit KO against Katana, Muddy Water is a 2-hit KO on really Spadef Arcanine, Moonblast does 62 to 73 versus Koko, and Muddy Water is has a chance to 2-hit KO as standard Nihilego. And for some of the defensive calcs, a Celesteela Heavy Slam has a 10% chance to 2-hit KO. You do have a chance to live a Discharge versus Koko in electric terrain. Poison Jab from Muck is a 2-hit KO, and a Gengar Sludge Bomb isn't a guaranteed KO, so that was pretty clutch as well in Swiss. But now, let's move on to the last member of the team. It was inevitable, like I said, based off of Brady's team, and with the Soak counterpart from Tapu Fini, Katana had to be the obvious answer. So this is easily my second favorite mon in the format. It does so much damage. Like if you don't have a check to it or a counter to it, it'll just steamroll your team. Like up until this point, Gigalith was a bit of a problem, as well as Celesteela, Muck, and Tapu Bulu. Now, if you guys watched the London Challenge, if you guys watched the last match on stream, I was 5-2 going into that match, and I had the same team, except I had Scope Lens and Kartana over Gracium Z. Now, as much as I liked critting an Arcanine and doing over 50%, Bloom Doom paired with Soak gave me so many knockouts. For example, in that match that I was talking about in the London Challenge, if I had Bloom Doom over Scope Lens, I probably would have won that game. But you know, that's neither here or there. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's pretty filthy too. If your opponent doesn't realize your Scarf Fini turn 1, for example, that doesn't usually happen unless they have a Scarf Lele or a Tapu Koko on the field, you can immediately pick up a Soak plus Kartana knockout. It doesn't really look like a Soak team from Team Preview, which allows for the team to have multiple modes, which I keep talking about. Kartana is also trained to live a Life Orb Thunderbolt from Koko and Terrain and a Blizzard from Ninetales, as well as a Gigavolt Havoc from Koko outside of Terrain, which I did not realize until it happened to me in one of the games. I chose Substitute because Kartana forces a lot of switches to stop it from steamrolling through your opponent's team, so you can get some good positionings with Sub, as well as it also does recoil damage versus mons like Marowak and Marowak and Arcanine, just giving them a little bit more chip damage for Kartana to pick up the knockout. And here are some of the offensive damage calcs. with your Bloom Doom, you have a guaranteed Oko versus a 4 HP 0 defense Garchomp. And here are the soak spreads. So pretty much everything dies. Celesteela, when it's a water type, dies to Bloom Doom. Arcanine, even at -1, dies to Bloom Doom. Muck, Marowak, Porygon 2, and Mandibuzz. Pretty filthy. And here are some of the defensive ones that I was talking about. You live a T-Bolt from Coco. You live a Psychic from Lele if it's not Life Orb, and Ninetales' Blizzard is a 2-hit KO, and Katana Sacred Sword doesn't kill you, Garchomp's Tech Rage has a chance to kill you, and Amandibus Foul Play doesn't kill you either. So that's pretty much the team, the damage calcs, the spreads. It was a lot of fun to use. I hope you guys understood it. If you have any questions, let me know, or any comments. But that's what the team is. Let's just go into a little bit more notes on the team, and you guys will see how it works. So now we're going to talk about my matchups that actually happened at San Jose. You can see them all on the screen right there. 8 rounds, going 7-1, and these are the matchups that I faced. So I'll just go into brief detail explaining to you guys what actually happened. So round 1, I won both games. It was actually a pretty scary game because if I didn't have Bone Marrying on Incineroar, on Marowak, Incineroar was kind of a problem for my team, as well as Snorlax, Speed Ties, and Trick Room. That was not fun, but I was able to win both those games. Round 2, one of the most offensive games I've ever had. It was Scarf, Garchomp with Aerodactyl, Arcanine, Katana, Bloom Doom, Katana, Gigalith, P2. Game 1, I just led my Soak lead, and I pretty much won the game from there because he wasn't expecting my Scarf Tapu Fini. And then Game 2, I adapted, leading Persian and Katana, and I'm pretty sure the Arcanine was banded as well. I'm pretty sure, but we were able to get 2 wins there. Round 3, unfortunately, I got 2 L's. I went up against Renee, who also made it to Top Cut, and I got destroyed both games. But I do want to say, I'm actually pretty happy that I lost these games, because up until that point, round 1 and round 2, I pretty much had the same leads that I was used to leading when I was practicing. But after round 3, I realized that Persian Mimikyu was a really good lead that I wasn't taking advantage of, and realizing that after game 3, if I let that, I could have probably beat Renee's team. So I'm happy that I lost to him, because it definitely helped me and set me up for the rest of my rounds to try and win. Round 4, what a tough matchup. I don't know about you guys, but looking at that team, my team does not enjoy facing that. It was a really hard fought match, and I had to make a lot of predictions. For example, returning the Gengar slot with my Snorlax at +6, expecting the Persian to come in. Oh man, made some great plays, but I was able to stall it out. And again, as I mentioned in the damage calc, Snorlax was able to live a Z Supersonic Side Strike from Salamence and a Heavy Slam from Celesteela, making it very clutch. Round 5. Faced off against an interesting team. I remember game 1 facing a Focus Sash Mimikyu, which just wasted my Z move from Katana, but I was still able to win the match, and because he wasn't expecting Scarfini. And then game 2, he led Lele Mandibuzz as I soaked Mandibuzz, and he just lost the game from there. Round 6, one of the luckiest matches I will have ever played in Pokemon, but I don't even care. You're running Sunfloss Pheromosa, man. We take those. Game 1, I remember I dodged a high jump kick, allowing my Snorlax to beat his team. Game 2, I was guaranteed to win the game, but he poisoned my Marowak with Poison Jab from Pheromosa, allowing him to get enough chip damage and protect turns to beat my Marowak. And then game 3, I remember I got a double protect versus his Pheromosa to win the game. So it was a very haxy match for both of us, but I was able to come out on top. Tough team. Round 7, very cool team that I faced from my opponent. I lost the first game, was able to bounce back after both. Porygon Z was Ghost Conversion, which I kind of expected looking at the team composition, but what I wasn't expecting was his Marowak to be faster than mine, since his team looked pretty hard Trick Room, but I was still able to win. So really cool team. And then round 8, we went up against Patrick Smith, able to just pretty much steamroll from the lead. If I was able to get the lead right, which he didn't bring Lucario either matches, I led Mimikyu Marowak and I led Mimikyu Snorlax, and those were just able to steamroll the game. So those were the matches in Swiss, going 7-1 top seed, and then came the day after where I had to play Jira in top 8. Now we move on to Top Cut, which is so bittersweet to talk about, as I still wish I could go back and just change the way I played, but nonetheless, let's talk about it. So we're going up against Jira, and he had a very interesting team, and his team was Tapu Fini, Arcanine, Porygon 2, Xurkitree, Mudsdale, and Muck. Now I was like, okay, this actually looks like a pretty good matchup for me, and I think I can beat him. So game 1, I lead Mimikyu Snorlax because I don't think he has a way to stop it, but he leads Tapu Fini, Muck. And I was like, okay, this is kind of free. Let me Z Destiny Bond and Belly Drum. Or, yeah, Z Destiny Bond, Belly Drum, because I'm expecting maybe a Moonblast and a knockoff. So Mimikyu can take both attacks, and I can set up a Snorlax, and it's kind of maybe GG from there. But as soon as I clicked Z Destiny Bond, I felt like, you know what, I think this Muck has Taunt. So, go for Z Destiny Bond. Fini goes for Muddy Water, Muck goes for Taunt on my Mimikyu, which means next turn I cannot Trick Room and I cannot get my Snorlax to win the game, as he also reveals Haze turn 2 on his Tapu Fini. Pretty much GG from there. I didn't really have a way to come back. I was able to get a Destiny Bond off with Mimikyu and kill some of his Mons, but it was pretty tough. Game 2, I was like, alright, I'm not messing around. I'm leading Soak. I'm just going to soak something, I'm going to kill something. I think it ended in a 3-0 in my favor, a really quick game, and I was able to just demolish with Soak. Game 3, right before team preview, I was like, you know what, he's not going to let me do that again. I found out in game 2 that he was, or game 1 was it, that it was a Scarf Arcanine. So I was like, okay, he's definitely going to lead Scarf Arcanine versus my Soak, so he doesn't lose. But I, for some reason in my head, thought, you know what, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. It worked game 2. I was not fine. If the concern or the mistake that I made was not the lead, really, the lead was fine, but if I didn't bring Persian, I feel like I could have won the game, because the end game came down to Tapu Fini and Arcanine versus Katana and Persian. If I had Snorlax in that slot over the Persian, I'd be able to beat the Fini 1v1, since Arcanine would kill itself to recoil. But that is unfortunate, and we were but we were kicked out of Top Cut by Jira, who actually went on to win the whole thing, so congratulations to him using his pretty cool unorthodox team. But that was my run at San Jose top 8 again. I'm going to try to come back, and I really want to win a regional. But as you can see, the team worked out pretty well, and I feel like it definitely could have beat any team. It just comes down to the way you play it. And with that, let's move on to some of the problems that I think this team does have. So first, and most important problem, fuck Muck. Seriously, fuck Muck. This thing is such a problem for the team. We have no super effective attack to hit it. Basically, the way you gotta beat it is you gotta chip it down, for example with Tapu Fini Moonblast into non-intimidated Flare Blitz from Marowak, picks it up, or you need to soak it, or you need to set up Trick Room for Snorlax to beat it, or you go with Persian and Snorlax to try and beat it with Quash and Belly Drum. Other than that, it's a really big problem for the team, and man, I hate Muck. And some of the other problems, AV Koko with HP Fire. It may not sound like a big problem, but it's a problem if I don't know that's what it is. For example, if I lead versus a Koko, with my Soak lead, I'm like, alright, that's fine. I can take a T-Bolt and I can just kill it back. Or if it's AV, it usually has Skydrop, which makes my Mimikyu Snorlax lead tough as well. Scarf Lele is also a problem because I don't usually know it's Scarf until it kills something, like my Persian, for example. Not knowing Katana's item, because if it's not Focus Sash, is probably the worst item for me to face, because that means it doesn't have as much bulk and a lot more attack, which gives Persian some problems, and I'll have to essentially kill it twice, so that's a bit of a problem. This team with the Tapu Lele, Ninetales, Muck, Celesteela, Arcanine, Garchomp was one of the toughest matchups I faced. I did do a lot of testing with my friends before the tournament, and I was able to beat them, they were able to beat me. It just came down to calling the lead right and calling the matchup, but definitely a tough problem for the team. But going off of that, calling the lead right is kind of an issue for the team, especially if you haven't played with it before. I was fortunate to play with it for a while, so I was comfortable and I knew what the team did. But sometimes you're just like, alright, let me lead Soak, let me get some big damage and kill stuff. It doesn't always work like that. You gotta think through your plays. Even if you're in an advantageous position, you need to think about the next turn. So you just can't get trigger happy and try to get kills. But all in all, that is actually the team. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Let me know what you thought. If you want to try out the team, let me know. I'll definitely give a placement down below. San Jose was a fun experience. My goal for 2018-2017 was to cut a regional. At least I've accomplished that. And now let's move on to 2018, where I'll be competing at Dallas, and maybe my boy Snorlax will make a return. Who knows? But thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, my friends, stay frisky. Peace.